You did? Did you go down into some of those, like down in the bottom of Harvey's? They had that on PBS about all the ghosts that are down
Oh yeah,
there.
I have there. I felt the ghosts, and I have a couple of jokes about them because when you talk about the underground in Portland, people get a little bit sad, and there's like and a little bit quiet. It's like you know what, it could be worse. It
Could be
could
a
be,
lot.
well, the joke is that Portland has a shady past, Albuquerque has a shady present.
Totally. Portland does have a very crappy past. So,
When they say
Facebook
Shanghai,
people,
they're not even kidding.
what's that?
He said when they say Shanghai, they're not kidding. You're getting like dropped into a cell and you're going to be shipped off to Shanghai and it'll take you through 2, 3 years to get back. And the Portland crowd gets really quiet.
They
And that's when I
do.
hit them. So it's like, you guys, you have a shady past. Albuquerque has a shady present.
Oh my
We have
gosh.
a great governor, though. We have a great governor who's keeping us. She's like the mom. You will put a mask on. You will keep your butt at home. And as a 100-year-old cougar, I'm keeping my butt at home anyway.
So you guys on Facebook land, on Mary Bird's page and on mine tonight, it's Mary Bird. And I met her in Portland at some of the comedy shows and Mike's there. She's a lovely lady. Let me read you what she wrote so you get a sense of who she is from her point of view. Mary Bird, the 100-year-old cougar is a Colorado Springs native, has called Albuquerque home since 1993. She's in Albuquerque on purpose, not because her car broke down. Her comedic style is silly, sassy, and smart. Current events, politics, family, neighborhood, and personal observations are all targets. And where did I leave off? A mild mannered software consultant by day, she stepped up to the stage as a stand up comedian in 2004 and has never regretted it. She travels throughout New Mexico and the Western United States, visiting thrift stores and stages, mixing up jokes, stories, and sometimes song, leaving laughter in her wake. It's been a quiet spring, so a lot has closed down. Had to cancel the Albuquerque Funny Fiesta that was supposed to happen next week, she said when she wrote this. She uses Zoom pretty regularly. So here she is, Mary Bird. Welcome. Hi, Mary.
Welcome. Thank you for having me, Linda.
Oh my God, are you
And you know
kidding?
what? The Albuquerque Funny Fiesta was supposed to go on this coming weekend. We had a great inaugural one last year, and we were so excited. But when South by Southwest canceled back in February, it was like, you guys, this stuff is serious. And our amazing International Balloon Fiesta is not happening. We expect the state fair to be next. So I love that you're doing this.
Thank you. I'm
Thank you
having
so
the,
much.
you're welcome. I'm having the time of my life. It's costing an arm and a leg, and I've never been happier to spend money. Never.
Hey,
This is so,
well, you
it's
got finally got all the right technology.
Yeah, I got a new computer and a really good mic. It cancels out noise. And then, of course, Sinbad's picture on the wall.
I noticed that.
Me and Sinbad. He said I could have 2 minutes with him, and he stayed on for 41.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'll
He's
never
a
forget,
very nice person.
isn't he? So tell me, Mary, you were having the fiesta, the funny fiesta in Albuquerque. Were you putting that on yourself?
Well, I was on a wonderful team of about seven other comics and producers. And one of the neat things about the Albuquerque Funny Fiesta is that we had stand up and improv and sketch and film.
Wow.
So we called ourselves the All Funny because we were trying to embrace many different, flavors of comedy. And, as people were saddened that, but, we're all safer.
Yes.
We're all safer. We'll be back in 2021. I have faith that we will be back. But yeah, we were like the All Funny. And that I learn a lot when I get to watch improvers who are really great, and then sketch comedy as well. And then we had film as well. So we are the All Funny. We're just postponed. That's what I like to think is we're
Yes.
just postponed until
So when that comes
2021.
around next year, I want to try to get over there. I'm not that far away.
No, you're about 8 hours by driving, because I've driven to Vegas a few times. Flying is about, 90 minutes, but it's not too bad. One of the times that I drove there, we left at midnight because it was too dang hot. And we were driving with a friend of mine and we were listening to Coast to Coast. And we came up upon Hobbs cement plant, which looks like a spaceship as you come up and over the hill. It was like, it's the cement plant. So it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Just take a left at Henderson.
Oh my gosh. I want to go back to your childhood because I know you're a very funny female comedian and you're a very funny comedian regardless of what gender you are. But I would like to have you explain when the first time was you remember people laughing at something you said.
Oh my gosh. Does anybody laugh at anything I say? I don't know. But what's really true is I have four older sisters and two younger brothers. So I have a big family and we're all still around, and that is amazing.
Yes.
And I have I don't know. And in some ways I feel like I've always elicited laughter as a defense mechanism. Because when you're the youngest daughter, they will make fun of you. They will make fun of you because you're the youngest. You know, I have
Yes.
some pretty big boobs, and they used to call me Chesty Morgan. I was like, you're just mad because we got in line and you didn't ask for any, and they realized this is the last girl. We're going to give them all to her.
Oh my goodness. So, who was the first person in your life that told you you were funny?
Me,
And how did you go about getting me on stage?
you know what? It was not easy. It was not easy to get on stage. I started when Albuquerque still had a comedy club. It's called Laughs Comedy Club, and you could get on Sunday nights. So this was back in like 2004. So it's been a while. And if you brought four people, you could get on stage. But I think this was to my advantage. You could not curse at all.
Wow.
And it was kind of like, if you're not funny without cursing, are you really funny? And that's one of the things that I kind of miss as that comedy club closed down in 2008. And we kind of floated in the wind for a couple of years before the brew pubs embraced us, and we had some really good open mics. But because they didn't have any rules, people were just saying anything, and a lot of it was shock value.
I know just
It's
what you
like
mean.
it could be shock value, and you'll get people to laugh because they're a little bit uncomfortable. But um, having several years of write something funny write something funny. And I was unfortunate enough to have my very first set be
Uh-oh, it froze.
really good and well received. And then when you have that first experience, you're like, oh my gosh, I know I'm funny. And then you have many years in a row, like just biting it. I was like, okay, I have to get better at writing. I have to get better at it. And I like to think that I did. I like to think that I did.
Yes. I didn't know you before I met you, obviously, but when I met you, I thought she's really naturally funny. And you had good
Oh,
material, very relatable, good, great timing, great stage presence, connectability, likability. I loved you.
well, I think I was probably 9 or 10 years in when I met you.
Whoa.
And I think once you like at least a year in, this was about 3 years ago in Portland.
Hmm. It was. I remember that time that we
And
were in
it's
that
like
little
a
theater.
beautiful little theater
Yeah.
with the amazing Angora, who is the person who got me to Portland. So, and she is still as funny as she's ever been. And it's like, Amanda Deal, still am in contact with a lot of the comics that I got to meet and see and go, oh my gosh, these people are funny.
Yes. There's a lot of really good,
And
funny Portland female
it's kind of
comics.
like finding your tribe. You moved to Vegas and you found that you were already in the tribe. And it was like they welcomed you in, didn't they? Because you're funny.
I
Because
think that people will welcome you if you're really mm, authentic. Like if you're not fake, I mean, not putting on airs, you have a lot better likelihood of being accepted.
I think so. It's like kind of like, you met me. I was sleeping on somebody's couch, but you're like, you're a traveling comedian. I'm like, I'm sleeping on somebody's couch, but I'm delighted to be here. And
Yes.
I really have, that's just the way we roll. You know, not
Yeah.
everybody starts off in Vegas, baby.
And you're a road comic. Let's talk about that. As a female road comic going around, that's not an easy life for a guy or a girl. Do you have any hints or tips on making it as a road comic? I'm looking at wanting to go on the road for a year around the whole United States. I'm looking for some tips from you. I'm sure others
Oh
are
man,
too.
you know what? I've only been to a few places, so I'm not. I've been into Colorado Springs, but and Denver because I'm from Colorado, and it's a little bit easier when you can drive an hour and a half and be back at your mom's house to sleep. That is a lot easier. But I've done Phoenix a couple of times. I have a sister in San Diego, and I got to do their one of their San Diego comedy festivals. And a lot of it has to do with having another real job to make some beans to slice. It is so hard. It is
It is.
so hard because, as you know, a lot of times we we just want the stage time. It's
Exactly.
like, okay, I have saved up for this trip. I've saved up for this trip. But, to get to the point where people want to pay for you to come out, that's 15, 20 years. Honestly, there's very few of us who can do it. And I am lucky enough, I almost had to fire up my old porn site, the old lady legs, but luckily I do have some other skills. I do have some other computer skills that have really bailed me out.
So tell
And
me about your day job. a mild manner software consultant, you said?
I am, and I have been doing that for about 26 years. And, I was married for 23 of those. So it was, and I have a son who's 23. So he finally launched. Yay! Proud of him, so proud of him. But, to have a real partner who is doing most of the heavy lifting was very, very helpful. But when I got a little bit funnier and I wanted to travel, we had to go our separate ways. That's just the way it is. And, you know, I was slicing a bean. I was slicing a bean the last couple of years.
Oh my
When you
gosh.
get to your last bean, you have to slice it. But I have recently landed in a wonderful spot where I can work remotely. And I'm a business analyst and a project management specialist. So it's like I didn't have to fire up the old lady legs porn site, but it's in my back pocket. It's in my back pocket.
So exactly what kind of things do you do with those titles? What is, I know nothing. I'm lucky I can turn the computer on.
Well, what the fun thing about it is I get to learn stuff and every day, but what I'm really am is I'm kind of a bridge between what users want to see and what programmers can provide.
Wow.
I'm the bridge between those two. It's like, you can't have this, but what can we have? And how are we going to communicate this to, 400 people? Um, so when we had to go to COVID, I had only been there for a couple of months, and we had to teach almost 300 people how to use Teams using Teams. And I felt very proud to be able to pull that off with a wonderful, wonderful team. And they're like, hey, if you're remote, you can still travel when comedy comes up. And I'm like, I love you guys. I love you guys. Because they
Wow.
can. They're like, we don't care if you're in Albuquerque or Colorado or Timbuktu. If you have an internet connection, you can work. And that is unbelievably rare. I find it very
Yes.
rare, and I feel super lucky because I had a few years of slicing a bean and living on credit cards.
Yes. I know what that's all
Still
about.
sling, but still telling jokes when I could, and absolutely. But it's been a little bit sad lately, and part of my my scheme, my
Mhm.
shtick was, all I know is what I read in the newspaper. Very much, Will Rogers is like, I always try and have at least, if I'm doing 30 minutes, at least 5 to 7 of them are very topical. Like what happened today or what happened yesterday. And it's been some sadness. It's
So
been some
sad.
sadness. I've lost a couple of friends from COVID. My kitty cat died in my arms. He was 17, and there's been sadness. I'm like, I don't want to talk about that on stage. It's
Yeah.
just too painful. I want people to laugh and I don't want them to cry.
Yeah. So that's a good strategy to have topical material about today, what's current, and then
Well, it's
you
turn.
what?
Well, what I find is that when you do that, your audience really feels like she is making this up as she's up there. Now, that's never really true. Occasionally, I have an amazing ad lib that happens every 5 years. Okay. But usually it's like, what has happened? What has happened? And I'm going to make fun of this, and I'm going to have fun. And you look fabulous. You look fabulous.
What?
do. I see you doing your hair.
Well, in order for me to look at you, or for it to appear like I'm looking at you, Zoom makes it where I have to look at myself, and I'm never quite right. And so I'm like, you're making me look at myself, and geez, look at this. This is ridiculous. That's what I'm doing.
Uh,
One day I was on here and I had fallen asleep and I had mascara running down my cheek. The whole time he's talking, I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
ah,
Oh,
that's just
man.
the
Yeah.
realness of being live, of
Yeah.
being live.
Yeah. So, what do you want to have happen in your life and your comedy career life once COVID's over?
You know, one of my long-term goals is I have probably been on 8 cruises with family and friends and other. I love the big water. I love it. And
Me
I
too.
had gone on a cruise with my mom to Bermuda for like her 50th class reunion. They decided to do something different. And my dad could not go because he was playing the Aspen Jazz Festival. And she's like, "Do you want to go?" And I'm like, "Yes." And I saw comedians and I was on a cruise ship and I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is a job." And so although they're not very safe right now, I would love to cruise around. I with her, but she was supposed to come out here. I'm like, I want to come to Melbourne. I want to come to Sydney in Australia.
Yes.
And I have relatives in London. It's like, you know what? I think that I could work on it. And what I really want to do is travel and get paid. Travel and get paid for doing my perspective, but still making people laugh about it. So it's like I'm a mom, I'm a woman in America, which is, you know how that is.
Yeah. Man alive. I can't. Sometimes, are you thinking about going into cruise comedy?
If I could, I absolutely would.
Hmm.
But we recently had some discussion on the New Mexico comedians page that's just for us. It's like, you guys, do you feel safe? And about 85% are like, I have family who are and fragile people in my life, and I would not risk it. I would not risk getting them sick for all the laughs in the world. And I was like, oh, good, I'm not alone. I'm not alone because it's been a hard 3 months. Like I said, I've lost a few friends. One, I had to pick her ashes up and help clean out her house. And it's kind of like, okay, this can wait. I'm still doing some other things, doing some online things, but this is painful and there's no way I can make it really funny.
Yeah, exactly. It's been really hard to write jokes. Like I'll put some one liners on Facebook, but to really sit and say, I need to add or make my set better, or come up with a new set, I can look around the room and go, okay, I'll do a play on words about lamps, the only thing I'm touching in my apartment is my touch lamp, or the clapper or whatever, but really
Well,
to be
I see
serious
you've been
writing.
doing some Zoom shows. How have those been? For me, I've always tried to read the room, and it just seems so hard to do that. How is that?
It's really, really difficult. I'm not going to fake it and try to tell you that it's a piece of cake. But so I think some of the difficulty of it is that I am looking at this flat screen saying, this is not a real audience. So I have to literally before I go on, before they call my name, I have to look at every person and imagine them right in the room with me in
You're
order to
trying
break.
to read the room electronically.
There you go. Yeah. And so it's working for me in that, like I've done about 4 or 5 Zoom shows and I bombed in one of them because I couldn't read the room, and I let the crowd intimidate me. It was not a crowd
People
that
do tune in though. People do tune in.
yeah, like there's
Excellent.
usually between 100 and 300 people that might be watching. You never know,
Wow.
especially right now. Where are they going to go? And if you get on the right Zoom show, somebody might discover you. You don't know. I mean, it's worth a try. So I
You're
tried
always
it.
trying to bring your best, but it's hard to read those static, you know, Zoom. But I'm grateful that people are doing it because it tends to be our younger comics who need the practice, damn it.
Yeah, right. And so, like tonight, for instance, I was on one that the group is from Comic Strip Live in New York. So it's
Oh,
Gladys Simon and the Comic Strip Live in the Gladys Simon room, and it was her thing. And when I was on it, of course, I know a half of the people in real life from being at the comic strip a couple times, right? And but still, you have that wall between you, and you can't. Some of them are muted, and some you can't get a read on how they're. But if you I know that the time I bombed, I was delivering and then checking for a reaction, and well, I wouldn't do that in real life on a stage. So why am I doing it? It's much more difficult to transfer your comedy through this medium than it is in real life. So why am I making it worse for them and for me by stopping and checking to see if they laughed? I should just do it and trust my gut that I know where you're supposed to pause. I know what's funny. I know how to let them know it's time to laugh, time to laugh.
that's what the pause is for. That's what the pause is for, is to like, okay, I'm going to let you catch up.
Yeah. But at first I was really scared, and I had one really good show and then I bombed the next one. I was like, oh man. And then I just pushed myself to do a few more. And really tonight, I think I got the best reaction of any comedy set I've ever done. I was like, oh, you guys are laughing all the time. I don't know if I'm going to get through this material. And I didn't say that, but you're thinking it like, I'm not
I have
used to
12
people.
minutes or I have 15 minutes. Can I get through it all? That's a good feeling, though.
It
That's
is.
a good feeling.
It felt good because I was very intimidated with the whole electronic comedy. So I set it out to be something that I was going to conquer. Will I conquer every time? No, but I'll take a win. So tell me what it's like to be putting on the Fiesta Festival. That must feel so good to be a part of that.
It is so much fun. It is so much fun because I was in a crew arts hub out of Albuquerque, and their mission is artists should be paid. That is their mission.
I like that.
And so our first one, we were able to pay all the comics that came. Not a very much, but nobody was working for free, and that was so amazing. It
What a
really is a lot of fun. And when we decided, like I said, late in February, we had been planning since September. We'd had our show in June. It's like we're going to take a couple months off, and then we're going to start planning again because it takes an awful lot to put on a comedy festival. And it's like, you guys, South by Southwest just canceled because of this. We have to think hard about it. And, it's like, okay, what if we're over it? We're 49th per capita. If people haven't been working for 3 months, are they going to be able to afford to pay, the $7, $10 per show? And
Good point.
we made a good decision. It was a hard decision, but it was the right one. It
Yes.
was the right one because it's next week and we're spiking. New Mexico isn't because we have a governor who is not even playing. She is not even playing at all. But, the states around us are spiking. Arizona, Texas, and Oklahoma. Colorado is doing okay. They are flattening their curve. Houston's at 96% capacity for their ICU beds. That's a little intimidating. It's like, yeah, we're going to have to close the border to you, Texas. You're going to have to stay in your own little state. She actually has not done that quite yet, but it could happen.
So
And
before we started, what, Mary? Finish your thought. Sorry.
he's saying, we're older. I'm a
So
100-year-old cougar. Should I be out and about? Probably not. Probably not.
so um I forgot what I was going to ask you. I had something important to say in a question
Oh,
form. I don't remember what it was. So you've been doing comedy and you're putting on a fiesta. What else are some goals that you have, like in your person? You and I were talking beforehand that you and I both like to go thrift shopping. What are some, so people can fall in love with you and want to promote your comedy and support it? I want them to get to know who you are off stage. So can you talk about some of the things that you do in the course of a month to have fun or to meet people? You seem like you're a very outgoing person.
well, before all this started, when I got divorced, I lost almost 50 pounds.
Wow.
And so the fun of going to thrift stores is picking up those beautiful items that somebody who probably got pregnant and was like, I'll never fit in this again. And they just gave it away. I'm going to buy those leather pants for $6 and woo, Nelly, I fit in. This is great. So I do. I love to thrift shop. Um, I really, really like just being outside. I don't necessarily, I'm not a backpacker, but I like to hike because we have beautiful, beautiful mountains in Albuquerque that are, 10 minutes away from me. Now, there's
Good.
also rattlesnakes that you got to watch out for, but, I like to do that. I love to go dancing. We have a wonderful music scene, a live music, great musicians, good dancing music. And it's like, you guys, we need a Zoom dance party because I'm not going out to dance, but, I love to do that as well.
Albuquerque has a lot of arts too, doesn't it?
Oh, incredible art,
Yeah.
graphic art, poets, musicians, and comedians as well. So, yes, when you don't have a lot of money, you have to be more creative, is what I have to say.
Yes. In Albuquerque proper, how many comedy clubs and how many comics are there about?
There are 0 comedy clubs.
What? So you do this
0.
in off places like restaurants and bars?
Well, we've had places that like restaurant, hotels that have stages. So the Andaluz Hotel was a great spot for us. Holly Byrd, no relation, but she could be. I'm old enough to be your mom, but she had a great show there. We have some beautiful other venues. Kevin Kennedy does a lot at um, a restaurant bar that also features musicians, local musicians. But the breweries have is what has really, really. embrace having comedians. And it's like,
Wow.
we'll give you a night a week. And when you have, I think that we're in the top 5 for breweries in the country
Wow.
for like winning medals and stuff for their brews, but also the numbers. And so that has been very, very nice. And we're looking forward to them getting back opened up.
So as of late, have you had your own mics or shows that you've run or produced?
I have not in probably 2 years. So beforehand, I had an open mic that people needed to sign up for at a place that's no longer here, but that was fun. And I got a perspective of just how hard it is to run a mic.
So hard.
It's so hard. And so the folks who are doing it and actually putting on video shows and things, lots of kudos to them because it's hard,
So hard. It's a lot
hard.
of work. I was going to go start one here and I thought, you know what? Just cool your jets. Let other people do it, you know?
You got almost 300 interviews from comics around the country. You're doing your part.
Thank you. This all started because I was depressed. Everything good that I've ever accomplished has started because I was so, well, I'm always depressed, I guess. So whatever. Can we talk?
So it's
Yeah.
like, what am I going to do to lift myself up? And you've done beautifully. You've
Thank you.
done beautifully.
Thank you. I mean, I really love talking. This would be what we would be talking about if we sat down at a restaurant and just found out we were both comedians. It's no different, it's just natural talk.
It's like,
So,
where are you going next? Just like to the bathroom, you know?
exactly. So, what's the biggest lesson you've learned from being on stage or from other people in comedy?
I think that one of the most significant things came from a comic. It was Stephen Michael Casada, and I had taken a couple of classes. He was in Breaking Bad, but he was a stand-up comic before then. And he's like, you can't find your own voice by watching other comics. And that was like, wow, because I know it's like if people go, oh, who's your favorite comic? And they're like, oh, this person, that person. It's like, my favorite comic is me.
How do you
but,
find
but
your voice then if you don't? Like,
just trying it, writing stuff, and more than anything, be taking things from your life because other people can't tell those jokes because that's not their life. And so it really did. It was like you can't find your own voice by watching other comics. It's not to mean that you shouldn't, but and to study other folks for timing and things like that is very important. But what you want to say and what you're talking about, that has to come from real life to make people relate. And that's been where I have found my most laughs, my most consistent laughs is like, this happened to me. And, when I first started, there were very few lady comics anyway. And I was like, well, if your people were worried about people stealing their jokes, it's like somebody can't take old married ladies' jokes, okay, and make them their own. They just can't, and having a funny kid and having crazy pets. But when you talk about that as your own, well, it's the truth. So it's easy to remember what it is. And, a lot of times you're just talking with people like at a barbecue and they start laughing. You're like, this is my life. It's the truth, you know, if you're telling stories about what's actually happened to you, and you get ideas to put, it's like, I'm going to put this bit together because this actually happened, and it doesn't make it, it's easier to remember, you know,
Yes.
especially things like I got to do 30 minutes in front of, 400 people. Yay! You know, that's a big crowd, but that's my goal, is to be authentic and to find funny in my own life, because sometimes life isn't very funny
No.
and you have to look for it.
Yes. Sometimes when I go through something horrible, I'm thinking to myself, there's the only reason I want to get through this is to find the funny in it. Because someday it's going to be funny. Not today, but
Not
someday.
today, maybe not next week, but eventually I will laugh about this because I survived it, and I found a coping mechanism that helped me get through it.
Yes. So, what's your favorite joke that sometimes lands and sometimes doesn't, that you just won't give up? I think most comics have one. They just love the damn joke.
It's my, if you don't like it, I don't care. I like it. I like telling people that I am a 100-year-old cougar, and I date men exclusively younger than me because all the men my own age are dead.
I love
So,
it.
and I say it every time, and I don't care if people laugh or not. I laugh about it. And that's part of just, you have to do some things for yourself. But you have to read the crowd, and sometimes you can get away with things because of a certain crowd. And other times it's like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to say that because I want to get to my car safely.
I have a joke where I talk about being in the military, and anybody here in the military, and if nobody says they're there from the military, I'll go, yeah, I know you're thinking I was a baby killer. but
Oh,
but joke's on you. I had an abortion long before I signed up for the army. But I can't tell that joke when there's military people there, because some of them are going to get triggered by the name baby killer, you know.
it depends on which era you were in. So
Hmm.
that's what is so great about having a live audience, and watching people come in, seeing what kind of t-shirts they have. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna pick on this guy. When I get up there, I am totally getting on this guy for wearing that shirt. And 90% of the time they're very good natured, and they're like, she made me part of her show. Uh, Occasionally they're not laughing, but everyone else is. And here,
That's a great tip. Have you ever gone
yeah,
around to talk to everybody before the show and not tell them that you're on the show, or to tell them that you are?
I have, because I'm like in my 15th year locally. Unfortunately, I can't get away with that because
There you
people
go.
are like, you're the comedian or you're one of the comedians. But just observing and seeing, it's like, well, what's this crowd like? And once I went to I forget which, it was either the Lions Club or the Moose Club. And one guy went up and he did another comic's jokes just to mess with him.
Oh no.
And I went up and cracked on the mayor because I was like, these people don't like this bear. I'm going to just crucify him. And I had so much fun doing that. But I haven't been able to use that particular set of jokes in quite a while because, like, you have to have a certain crowd sometimes to take risks like that. It's like, okay, I have three jokes that I can think of, and let me think of what I can think of right now about this mayor. And that was a lot of fun. But
Oh,
I thought
that's
that the other comic doing the other comic's jokes was mean. I thought
very
that was
mean.
mean.
So mean. What's the craziest thing that's ever happened? Like unforgettable, crazy funny, crazy scary, crazy stupid, weird, hard, memorable. Maybe something someone said to you after you'll never forget.
I think one of the most unusual things happened to me in Portland with Nikki Moon, who had a couple of too many edibles. I had to leave him by the Goodwill and walk 11 blocks through not the very best part of Portland.
Oh no.
Like, okay, it's 11 blocks this way. I got somebody, we got into a car and came and picked him up. And so it didn't happen on stage. Nikki, I love you.
I love Nikki. Love him
But
to pieces.
that was like, oh my gosh. Okay, walking by myself, I saw possums. Okay, there were possums.
Oh my gosh. Nikki Moonin, your
Of
edibles.
Portland. That was pretty funny.
Yes. So, has anybody ever come up to you afterwards and said, well, I really liked it when you said this and told you something that broke your heart or made you tear up, or how people relate to you as a human?
You know, I have had people come up. I had a set that was a few years after my dad had died, and I did a set that I usually only do on Father's Day. If I happen to be doing a show and I talk about what happened, and I had somebody in tears come up and said, that was so funny, and I just lost my dad last month. You know, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. And I'm glad that I could lift your heart.
Oh, that's so precious. Makes it all worthwhile, right?
It makes it, well, getting two people to laugh, honestly, is worth it, isn't it? You know
Yeah.
it is. You know it is.
My favorite thing that somebody ever told me is I went to the VA hospital. I'm a vet. I went there to the emergency room for some stupid thing I needed help with, nothing big, and not this time. And so I'm up there and I'm like, oh, it's taking forever. I'll go get a cup of coffee in the cafeteria because I'm not really that sick. And I go over there, and this guy wheels himself into the cafeteria in a wheelchair. And I look at him and he's got a hole in his knee where his kneecap should be. There's a hole. So I said, what the hell are they doing to you here? Killing you? What is going on? Right. And I said, I'm a comedian. I'm sorry. This is just the way I talk. And he tells me that he's in there for kneecap replacement, but they didn't order the kneecap. So he has to keep it all gelled up day for months. He's been there 3 months waiting
Oh
for a
my
kneecap.
gosh.
So I said, do you want to hear my set, my comedy set? He goes, yes. So I tell him, tears are streaming down his face while I'm telling these jokes. And we get done, and, I'm trying to tell the jokes without choking up. And I get done and I go, what'd you think? And he said, you know, the last time I had anybody come and tell jokes to me was when I was in Vietnam, and it was Bob Hope. So it wasn't my jokes that were affecting him one bit. It was Bob Hope and remembering Bob Hope. Is that ever so cool?
That is awesome.
And then he went on to say, do you know what it does to us when you tell us jokes? Now he's speaking for the whole brotherhood of veterans, right? And he said, it takes us out of all the worry and the pain and the frustration, and it makes us be in the moment. We forget all of that in that moment when you're making, like, and then I was like, wow, That's pretty
You
special
realize
to
how
do.
important you are. Laughter is medicine.
Yeah. So anyway, that was a real special time for me. Because you're helping people when you're making them laugh, but you don't always get that feedback just how much, you know?
That's pretty
We don't know
amazing.
when somebody's ready to jump off of a bridge or end their life. Life is tough. We could be say, we could literally be essential workers.
I think we are.
I do too. So
I
do you have
try
any
and laugh every day.
you try to what?
I try and laugh or make somebody laugh every single day.
Me too. It's not always easy. And like the days I'm the saddest is when I write the most jokes, if you can call them that. One day I wrote 82 jokes on Facebook, and I know it because a 74-year-old Portland female comic unfriended me, blocked me, and called me on the phone to tell me that she'd done that because she read all my jokes and missed her doctor's appointment.
Ah,
So I had to write a punchline to it. And I said, and I told her, yeah, I know. He'd called to thank me. Have to get even some way. Sarcasm. Pull out the sarcasm.
sarcasm can be a very good defense mechanism, but also making jokes is like, you know what? You might not like me and I don't care because this, that, and the other thing. And then they start to crack up. And it's like, see, you don't dislike me as much as you thought you did.
That's it. That's it. Well, I think you're doing a powerful thing with your comedy, and I've appreciated it from the time I met you.
Oh, thank you, my friend. Me as well. And I'm so excited for you to be in Vegas and smiling and living life, living
I
that
think,
Vegas life. And you feel safe out there? How are
yeah.
things there?
Well, when the tourists are here, they keep us safer because there's a lot of them around. But when the things were closed up, we saw a lot of people get beat up right on the street corner by
Oh,
people who are
man.
desperate. So, it's been scary, not just from the COVID point of view, but just if you do want to go to the store to get water or milk or toilet paper, are you safe without the tourists making it safe?
Oh, wow. I had
Yeah.
not even thought about that.
Yeah, it's weird. But I sure love it here. And it's a great feeling to know that you're right where you need to be at the right time for yourself. So,
Don't you know when it feels right, when you like, I landed in Albuquerque in the airport in 1993, and I was walking through the concourse and I was like, I like it here. And my then husband was a transportation engineer. I was expecting him to say, it's the airport. And he was like, I like it too. And, we're both here doing different things, but both here for our son. It's like, I, I love it here, even though it was 101 degrees and the swamp cooler wasn't working. I don't care. I'm still in a beautiful place.
yes, yes. Well, when that festival starts back up, the Funny Fiesta in Albuquerque,
Funny Fiesta, Albuquerque Funny Fiesta. It's all funny.
can't wait to see about getting in on it.
You be sure and apply. We'll see
Okay.
what we can do for you because
Thank
we'd love
you.
to have you. And I
Thank
got a guest room for you.
Holy Toledo.
I know my son has launched and I totally threw everything away that was in.
Oh my gosh.
So yes, we have a guest room and I would love to have you, my friend.
Thank you so much. So I'll head on out, and I can't thank you enough for letting me have you on here. I want people to
Thank
get to know
you.
Mary Byrd behind the mask at home in her bed, propped up against. She's not doing prop comedy. It's just a pillow.
Actually, I'm in a lounge chair. I'm not in bed.
It's a lounge chair. I'm in my bathtub. I'm just kidding. This is a screensaver.
Sinbad would be honored, I'm sure.
Oh, that was so fun with Sinbad.
Oh man.
Got very lucky to
Isn't
have
he
him.
just sweet?
Yeah, he's a good guy. Just a good guy. Yeah. Well, I'll let you go. I'm signing out. Thank you so much for opening your heart and telling us things.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much for having me on. You
You
keep
bet.
on keeping on,
Thank you.
and we'll see you sometime soon.
Awesome. Take care. Stay safe and sane.
Thanks, Linda. You as well.
Love you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Everybody's talking.